Hello and welcome to Physics with Amol sir. So this is the first video for class 11. Today we are going to see an introduction about what is physics, okay, and we are going to start with the first unit, that is physical world and units and measurement. So let's begin. So some things I have already shared with you all in the class previously, okay. Two things that I have told you. One is the syllabus that is for this year and some of the topics that have been changed, okay. So deleted topics also I have shared in the class with you. So make sure that you are going through those deleted topics so that you understand exactly what is the syllabus for this year, right? So today we will see the first unit. Now first unit consists of two chapters. First chapter is physical world and the second chapter is units and measurement. Now this chapter, that is physical world, I want you to read the entire chapter from the textbook. Don't worry that even if many of those topics have been deleted, still you should read those topics because they are very interesting, okay. These topics will give you a very good idea of what we mean by physics, okay, what is the scope of physics, right, and why physics is so important for us. I'm not going to discuss the entire chapter here because, as I said, I want you to read it from the textbook, but we will see a small gist of it and then we will see the next chapter, that is units and measurement, okay. Later chapters completely we will be covering in these video classes. Till 10th standard we were having a combined syllabus. So when we said science, all the different topics in science were there in a single textbook. But now when you have come to 11th standard science, you will notice that you are having different sections, different subjects. So we have a separate subject called physics, separate called as chemistry, separate called as biology, right? So in 11th standard you are going to get specialized instructions for each of these subjects. So what we are going to do today, we are going to talk about what is physics and what is the scope importance of physics. So what is physics? Physics, this word, it comes from the Greek word which stands for nature. And when we are learning physics, we see that we learn about lot of natural phenomena, okay, lot of physical phenomena that we observe all around us. So I'm sure you remember in 9th and 10th standard we learnt about motion of objects. We learnt about the phenomena of velocity and acceleration. We learnt about the gravitational forces. We learnt about Newton's laws. We learnt about how light is affected by the phenomena in nature, okay, and we learnt about current electricity also. So all these different kind of phenomena we have learnt in physics. So we can broadly divide physics into two parts. One we call as classical physics and the other we call as modern physics. Now what is classical physics? So whatever we have studied till now in 9th and 10th standard, all that you can call as classical physics, okay, or basically the physics that was given to us by Isaac Newton. And what we see in classical physics we talk about objects of large size. So whenever we see Newton's laws, we will say there is a particle that is having some mass, let us say 100 gram, 1 kg, 10 kg, okay. We talk about macroscopic particles, large particles. So whatever physics we have seen till now, that can be called as classical physics, okay, which talks about macroscopic particles. And the other type of physics that we call as modern physics or quantum physics, that came with the discovery of electron, okay, that came with the theory of relativity given, okay, all these things that can be called the modern physics or quantum physics. Quantum physics, it actually talks about microscopic particles, okay, which are very small. And the thing that we have noticed, the rules of physics that we have in classical physics, that will not apply in quantum physics, okay. So when you go on a very small scale, there the rules given by Isaac Newton, they do not seem to apply. But both these things we are going to see in 11th and 12th standard. So the syllabus is very interesting. We are going to see both sides. We are going to study about classical physics. The first 3-4 chapters will be about classical physics, and then slowly we will move to the modern physics also, okay, and I'm sure you are going to find it very interesting. Now let us talk about the concept of fundamental forces. I'm sure you remember the concept of force that we have already studied in 9th standard. In our universe there are only 4 forces, okay. So whichever type of force that you see, it will belong to one of these 4 categories, okay. So if I ask you how many forces are there, so there are only 4 fundamental forces. Let us see which are these 4 fundamental forces. First is gravitational force, other is electromagnetic force, the other 2 are called as nuclear forces. One is a weak nuclear force, the other is a strong nuclear force. Okay, so once again, gravitational force, electromagnetic force, weak nuclear force and strong nuclear force. These are the 4 fundamental forces in our universe. Other than these 4, we have not found any other 5th fundamental force. So any kind of force, wherever you see any kind of application of force, it will belong to one of these 4 categories. Now let us see them one by one. So gravitational force, that is already known to you. Okay, that is the force that we see exerted between masses. Gravitational force is a very long range force. Okay, so the force between our sun and the earth, between the sun and the moon, between different kind of planets, all these forces are gravitational forces and they are very, very large in range. Okay, so gravitational force are long range forces. The other force, that is electromagnetic force. Electromagnetic force, that is also a long range force. But of course, the range of electromagnetic force is shorter than gravitational force, but it is also considered as a long range force. But you will see, if you compare the power, electromagnetic force are much more strong as compared to gravitational force. Okay, in fact, of all the 4 fundamental forces, gravitational force is the weakest force. So these are 2 long range forces, gravitational and electromagnetic. The other, that is weak nuclear force and strong nuclear force. These are very, very short range forces. Okay, and where are nuclear forces? Obviously, in the name you can understand, nuclear forces are inside the nucleus of the atom. Okay, so inside the nucleus, you are able to see the weak nuclear force and the strong nuclear force. And as the name suggests, weak nuclear forces are weaker in nature. Strong nuclear forces are very much strong in nature. Okay, the particles that are there inside the nucleus, they are actually bound together by these 2 type of nuclear forces. Okay, so what we need to understand is the strongest force in nature, that is the strong nuclear force, and the weakest force in nature, that is the gravitational force. Okay, but the highest range, that is for the gravitational force. Okay, lowest range, that will be for the strong nuclear force. Okay, in this diagram, in this table, all these this idea you will be able to understand. Okay, but don't worry, there will be no question as such asked here, but this is important for our fundamental understanding. Okay, this will help you to understand the idea of physics. So I hope these topics were understood. Now the task for you is, you are going to read the entire chapter from the textbook. Okay, that is chapter 1, physical world. When you go through this chapter, you are going to see many interesting things. Okay, so make sure that you read the chapter. There won't be any question as such asked from this chapter in the exam, but it is important for our understanding. Okay, after this, in the next class, we are going to start with units and measurement. Now, if you remember, when we were in class 9, there we talked about SI units and CGS units. Okay, so what I want you to do, you are going to revise those topics. You would be either having it in a notebooks, okay, or from the textbook itself, from the 11th textbook itself, you will be able to read them. Okay, so just go through them a little bit. So when we are starting with the next class, that knowledge will be having with you. Okay, thank you.